For decades, his name and face was synonymous with Doctor Who. He still holds the record for the longest time in the role, still at the top of most favourite Doctor polls, and while every new actor cast in the role always cites Patrick Troughton as their inspiration, they secretly hope that they can come close to the fourth Doctor. This is where Tom Baker became Doctor Who. The task of finding a new Doctor to fill Jon Pertwee's massive shoes fell to outgoing producer Barry Letts. I mean, metaphorical shoes, since Pertwee didn't have abnormally large feet, but he'd been such an enormous part of the show's success in the early 70s. Letts had approached several actors but couldn't find anybody he felt was right for the part, until he had been recommended a 39-year-old actor named Tom Baker. Baker was not a well-known name at the time, though he'd had roles in various bits of TV and movies, such as the villain in the 1973 film The Golden Voyage of Sinbad. Like many jobbing actors, he'd taken on an ordinary job in between gigs, odd jobs like electrician, barista, Uber driver, apprentice haggis chef, though in Tom Baker's case, he was working as a labourer on a building site when he was handed the keys to the TARDIS. It's like an episode of Black Mirror where you don't feel you need to take a shower afterwards.
Would you like a jelly, baby?
The fourth Doctor was, yet again, a different take on the title role. With his slightly dishevelled bohemian appearance, long multicoloured scarf and broad-brimmed hat, he cut a unique silhouette. The fourth Doctor speaks with authority and gravitas, though he's ready with a disarming joke and prepared to play the fool in order to diffuse tension.
Well, now he's got any chance of a cup of tea?
Step into the security scan.
What, no tea?
He's more alien, less empathetic and less emotional than any other incarnation. His pockets are full of all sorts of gadgets and trinkets with a never-ending supply of jelly babies, which is why the TARDIS has such a terrible problem with ants. Sarah Jane Smith, played by Elisabeth Sladen, had been introduced the previous year. She quickly formed a close rapport with Tom Baker, where the pair created an on-screen duo that became one of the series' most enduring relationships.
Hundreds of lives at stake, and you lie there blubbing.
You? Wait! I get out! I can manage. I don't need your help, thank you.
Yes, you do, yes.
Sladen knows when to make Sarah tough and when to make her scared, often within the same scene. The fourth Doctor is slightly less patronising to his companions compared to his predecessor and doesn't try to coddle them. Sarah is a companion who will often try to save the Doctor, even if she herself needs saving in the attempt. It's like when your car runs out of fuel and your friend comes to pick you up, but they've locked their own keys in the car. Sarah's loyalty to the Doctor is matched by his loyalty to her.
Well, I've a young friend on the beacon, Sarah Jane, the girl who was here. She risked her life to save mine. The least I can do is accept the same risk for her.
Joining the series as a new companion is Unit's medical officer, Naval Lieutenant Harry Sullivan, played by Ian Marter. The Doctor couldn't give two fucks about him.
What have I done now?
Harry is well-spoken, old-fashioned, and often out of his depth in the Doctor's company. The fourth Doctor takes great joy in insulting and berating Harry.
Harry Sullivan is an imbecile!
Marter was originally cast to handle the action when it was thought the new Doctor was going to be played by a much older actor. Ian Marter, a serious actor who felt he could do much more than the series would allow him to do, later co-wrote a screenplay for a Doctor Who film with Tom Baker, Doctor Who Meets Scratchman, and also wrote several well-regarded TV novelisations for Target Books.
I'm the Doctor.
No, Doctor, I'm the Doctor, and I say that you're not fit.
You may be a doctor, but I'm the Doctor. The definite article, you might say.
Robot follows on directly from Jon Pertwee's final story, and indeed this story was made as part of the 11th season produced by Barry Letts. A number of impregnable research installations have been broken into by something large and powerful. The Doctor, quickly springing back from his regeneration, deduces the thefts are by a homegrown outfit, looking to make a disintegrator gun.
There seems to be a very large rat about, Brigadier.
Rat?
Perhaps you should employ the services of a very large cat.
Sarah, meanwhile, and one of the few times we see her as a working journalist, has been sniffing around a research think tank and comes face to face with the K1 robot. Do you think that maybe? Nah, surely not. Too late. The ambiguity lasts all of 10 seconds and everybody knows think tank are up to no good. The inventor of both the robot and volumizing product, Professor Kettlewell, had left think tank, thinking his creation had been dismantled, but the Doctor isn't convinced.
You let Sarah go off somewhere with Kettlewell?
Sarah shows the robot kindness and empathy, and the robot repays her by straining her up on a rooftop while he goes off and have fun with his mates from Unit. Departing Pertwee-era script editor Terence Dix, writing his first full script for the series since 1969, has written a simple and fun story, taking elements of King Kong, some subtle, some less so, and created a fun but traditional adventure to introduce a still tentative Tom Baker.
And according to my estimation of the resistance to pressure of vegetable fiber, it was stepped on by something that weighed 1/4 of a ton.
Robot is the first time the series used new lightweight outside broadcast video cameras for its location work, giving the show a uniform look that you wouldn't get with a traditional mix of film and video work. As the climax involved extensive amounts of semi-convincing chroma key, the epic battle looks a lot better than the dinosaurs of the previous year. The K1 robot is a rare design win for the series around this time, and has become somewhat iconic for viewers of a certain age. It looks large and imposing, and the actor Michael Kilgareth not only manned the costume, but also performed the voice work live during recording.
Go now, or I will destroy you all!
While most of the effects hold up relatively well, one effect in particular has been derided for more than 40 years. It's about as convincing as me claiming to have invented the croissant. I don't think I need to say any more. Incidentally, this video is sponsored by Stam Fine croissants, the original inventor of the croissant. Anyone else who claims to have invented the croissant is either a liar or French. Think Tank and their cohorts at the Scientific Reform Society are led by Miss Winters, the series' first humanoid female villain since 1965. Thanks to the K1 robot, Winters has the launch codes for the world's nuclear missile and begins the launch countdown. After Toy Tank time, the series goes back to its 60s roots by having each story run directly into the next one. The TARDIS, having accidentally been knocked off course by Harry Sullivan, lands on Space Station Nerva, a satellite containing thousands of hibernating humans who had taken shelter when the Earth was devastated by solar flares. Lazy buggers. At some point in the last 1,000 years, a spaceborne insect known as a Wirren has made its way to Nerva and laid its eggs before dying. The Doctor, Sarah and Harry manage to revive the hibernating humans, but the Wirren are already hatching and have designs on both the sleepers and the Earth, and all of the delicious Stam Fine croissants in the pantry. Ark In Space had passed through the hands of several writers before incoming script editor Robert Holmes belted out one of the series' all-time greats. The dialogue has more of an edge than previous seasons, and the acting is first-rate, from the Doctor down to the guest cast.
There must be a remote control. You haven't touched anything, have you, Harry?
Me?
Well, there are only 2 of us here, and your name is Harry.
The playful banter between the regulars as they investigate the lifeless station at the start of the serial, uncovering a number of small mysteries, is wonderful. The set design is excellent, and there's some decent creature work, apart from the use of the then new but now ubiquitous bubble wrap for parts of the Wirren's life cycle. You can keep your fancy modern Who shouty teary speeches when Ark In Space has one of the Doctor's all-time classic monologues.
Homo sapiens. What an inventive, invincible species. It's only a few million years since they crawled up out of the mud and learned to walk.
Next is a rare 2-part story, The Sontaran Experiment by Bob Baker and Dave Martin. It's also rare that it's made completely on location using the same outside broadcasters used on Robot. The Doctor, Sarah and Harry use Nerva's transmat system to teleport down to a rejuvenated Earth, wiped clean of life and croissants by the solar flares. But in the midst of a sole Sontaran warrior conducting research for his postgraduate thesis on whether crushing humans is a good way to invade Earth, Kevin Lindsay again delivers the goods as Steyr, a Sontaran whose report is so crucial to a Sontaran invasion that the Doctor can balls it up just by replying all. We also have the crashed Galsex, an offshoot human colony that flourished while the inhabitants of Nerva had a nice lie-in. Alright for some, innit? Tom Baker had a nasty fall during the recording, which resulted in a broken collarbone. Obviously, this caused moments of consternation for new producer Philip Hinchcliffe, though Baker was soon able to return to the location to finish the recordings. An immobile Baker is often shot in close-up with his scarf hiding his injury, while stunt coordinator Terry Walsh doubles for the Doctor in some long shots. It's only really obvious when you know what to look for, which of course, you do now. Sorry about that.
Nerva, transmat beam, Earth. It's as simple as that. Why don't you believe me?
Because Nerva doesn't exist, that's why there's no such place.
Fascinating. You don't believe it exists, yet you've obviously heard of it.
Returning to Nerva via the transmat, the Doctor, Harry and Sarah are waylaid by the Time Lords who have a mission for the Doctor: return to the point of the Daleks' creation on Skaro and either alter their development into less evil creatures or destroy them. So they get stuck on Skaro in the midst of the original 1,000-year war between the Khalids and Athals. The Khalids have pinned their hopes on the scientific elite, headed by their top scientist Davros, "Oh, look at that chair, he must have copied the Daleks." Well, actually, he's just about to create them. Davros is so barking mad that even his fellow Khalids want him stopped. Rather than accede to their demands, he helps their mortal enemies, the Thals, to destroy the Khalid city with a rocket. The Doctor, having failed to sabotage the rocket, tries one more time to stop the countdown. When Terry Nation delivered his original script outlines to former script editor Terence Dix, he had to be told, politely, that while the plot was good, he'd already sold it to the series 3 times before. Instead, Terence Dix suggested that Nation show viewers the genesis of the Daleks, and a classic was born. While the familiar action-adventure tropes of a Nation script are still evident, there's a much harder edge to the proceedings, possibly with the intervention of script editor Robert Holmes.
My creature showed a natural desire, an instinct to destroy, and you interceded! You will be punished for this!
The link between the Daleks and Nazis was always there, but in Genesis it's so obvious that anyone would think I was the inventor of the croissants. This review of Genesis of the Daleks was brought to you by Stam Fine Croissants, new diet chocolate croissants. The only diet croissants with 5% less calories, so you can have twice as many. For a story called Genesis of the Daleks, the actual screen time given over to the Daleks is quite minimal. Make no mistake, this is a Davros story. Partly due to the script, and partly due to Michael Wish's remarkable performance that moves from menacing whisper to hysterical ranting in seconds.
That power would set me up above the gods! And through the Daleks, I shall have that power!
Wish's interpretation is still the yardstick by which all other Davroses are measured. He's ably supported by his fascist henchman Nida, played by Peter Miles in a break from his usual snarky scientist roles. The production has really taken a step up from earlier Dalek stories, particularly when compared to director David Maloney's last Doctor Who serial, Planet of the Daleks. The Daleks are shot in a way that makes them appear a lot more impressive than usual. A first for the series was the fact that the Dalek weapons were now visualised with a superimposed video effect for the first time, rather than just a sound effect and their victims going to negative. The horrendous screams when the Daleks exterminate their victims adds a note of raw danger to the proceedings. Raw danger, just like a Stam Fine ham and cheese croissant that hasn't been heated up properly in the microwave. Genesis of the Daleks is one of the series' all-time classics. It's more adult than the series had ever been, more violent than before, and utterly gripping.
Do I have the right? Simply touch one wire against the other, and it's it. The Daleks cease to exist.
The season closes slightly earlier than originally planned with Revenge of the Cybermen. The metal cyborgs hadn't been featured in a story since 1968's The Invasion, and their belated return is okay rather than outstanding. Despite being written by the co-creator of the Cybermen, Jerry Davis, it feels like an old-school Terry Nation adventure, rather than something Hinchcliffe and Holmes would have greenlit. Returning to Nerva at a time before the solar flares, when it was being used as a lighthouse to warn ships of a new asteroid, the Doctor and company find the TARDIS missing and a crew apparently wiped out by a virulent plague. But it's not a plague, it's a plot by the Cybermen to use the remaining crew as bomb carriers to destroy the asteroid, now identified as Voga, Planet of Gold. Revenge of the Cybermen introduces gold as a substance that would choke Cybermen, so of course a legendary Planet of Gold would give them the screaming shits, so it must be destroyed. The new Cybermen are suitably shiny and large, though only slightly redesigned from their last appearance. Another first is the use of a cyber leader to head the Cybermen, this one apparently being Canadian. Vive le Quebec!
You've no home planet, no influence, nothing. You're just a pathetic bunch of tin soldiers skulking about the galaxy in an ancient spaceship.
With their literal headcanon and giant cybermats, the Cybermen have been double-crossed by their human agent Kelman, who is in fact working with the Vogans to destroy the Cybermen. It's alright in the end because Kelman dies trying to save Harry. Except by my math, Kelman has killed nearly 50 human crew members of Nerva Beacon, so... The Vogans just want to fire their rocket and destroy the Cybermen, so rather than give the Doctor enough time to pop back to Nerva to rescue Sarah, Vogan rebel Vorus begins the countdown to launch. One budget-saving measure of this year was having 2 stories set on Nerva in order to maximise the money spent on scenery. And it has to be said, the sets are pretty good for most of this season. The effect of Nerva orbiting Voga was less good, though it's a decent try.
Isn't it wonderful to feel needed, Commander?
Revenge of the Cybermen is a favourite story of mine, not because it's a great example of the series or even a good Cybermen story. It's just that I have fond memories of it, warts and all. It was the very first official release of the show on home video, back in 1983, and I still have the Betamax video cassette. Here it is.
I'm needed back on Earth.
How do you know?
Left the Brigadier a space-time telegraph system and told him not to use it unless he had a real emergency on his hands.
And he's used it?
He has.
The season ends after only 20 episodes because the BBC decided to hold on to the last story of the season, Terror of the Zygons, and use it to launch season 13 5 months earlier than planned. Some say in order to compete against the then upcoming ITV series Space 1999.
But there's still time to change all that.
So season 12 launched not only a new Doctor, it launched a legend. The next season would be the first to be set up by the new production team, and it would demonstrate just how different and adult Doctor Who could be.
This looks like the end, Sarah.
One thing about you, Harry, you never miss the obvious.
If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, leave a comment below, or check out some of our other videos.